Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. We're actually going to skip the usual intro today because I want you to imagine something literally astonishing right out of the gate. Just think about thousands of years of human history for a second. Hundreds of civilizations, entirely different languages, cultures, prophets, scriptures, you name it. Yet remarkably, all of them keep pointing toward the exact same destination. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What if humanity has spent centuries arguing over the vehicles we're using to travel while completely missing the destination we were all trying to reach in the first place? Okay, let's dive into this, because it's a huge question. If merely every major civilization and religion teaches goodness, compassion, and peace, then why does the world look the way it does? Why is it still so full of hatred, anxiety, corruption, and conflict? Think about it. If we've had the instruction manual for thousands of years, why are we still so lost? Section 1, the missing destination. Finding the same peak. It's kind of like 10 people climbing the exact same mountain, just from different sides. One person sees pine trees, another sees snow, another sees these huge rocky cliffs. Now, nobody's lying, right? They're just describing different paths to the exact same peak. But instead of just climbing, we've spent centuries fighting over the description of the mountain. And the core issue here is that information is not transformation. Knowing something is easy, but actually living it, well, that's the difficult part. We fall into these ridiculous traps all the time. It's like owning a massive cookbook while you're starving, or buying really expensive gym equipment just to use it as a clothes hanger. True transformation means you actually have to cook the meal or get down and lift the weights. You can't just collect religious texts or philosophical quotes. You absolutely have to do the work. Which brings us to Section 2, 3 timeless principles, 3 core pillars. So what actually happens when we strip all the noise away? If we just remove the specific rituals, the ancient languages, the symbols, what's actually left over? Well, we're left with 3 timeless principles that reliably create peace, health, clarity, and true wisdom. So the crucial point is that these 3 core pillars, love, unity, and honesty, are the absolute ultimate framework for fixing our modern ailments. Everything else, it's completely secondary to these 3. If we can master these, we are no longer just memorizing the menu, we're finally eating the meal. Let's break down exactly what each of these means in a real, practical sense. First up is love. And honestly, we aren't just talking about romance here. Far from it. Real love is how you treat absolute strangers. It's possessing patience, having forgiveness, and acting with kindness when literally nobody is watching you. And what's incredible is the universal consensus on this. Jesus taught to love your neighbor. Buddha taught compassion for all beings. Krishna spoke of selfless devotion. Guru Nanak of universal brotherhood. Lao Tzu of gentle living. Confucius, Islamic texts, Jewish traditions, ancient African and indigenous wisdom, all of them, every single one, teach this exact same expanding of the human heart. Hatred shrinks it, but love expands it. But hey, this isn't just nice poetry, it's literal science. Modern neuroscience fully supports this ancient wisdom. When you perform acts of kindness, your brain releases oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. These are specific chemical reactions that literally lower your stress levels and physically improve your emotional well-being. It's fascinating because science is just now measuring what ancient wisdom has been practicing for thousands of years. The second principle is unity. Unity is recognizing that we all breathe the exact same air and cry the same tears. It's really about finding harmony in our differences, rather than requiring everyone to be exactly the same. Just think about your own body for a second. The heart never competes with the lungs, right? And the brain doesn't hate the kidneys. Imagine if your left hand suddenly declared war on your right hand. It'd be ridiculous. Unity is like an orchestra. You definitely don't want just one instrument playing the exact same note over and over again. The true beauty comes from different notes coming together to create one incredible piece of music. The third principle is honesty. But actually, this is far more than just telling the truth to other people. It really means ending self-deception. It's about being rigorously truthful with yourself about your anger, your jealousy, and the pretenses you hide behind. Lying to yourself with casual phrases like, "Oh, I'm fine," or "I'll start tomorrow," literally steals years from your life. Both ancient wisdom and modern psychology completely agree on this point. Real healing only begins the very moment denial ends. Honesty is uncomfortable, for sure, but man, it is incredibly liberating. Section 3, the biology of peace. Healing your body. We so often think of stress as something that just comes from our jobs or our busy schedules, but the deepest stress actually comes from internal conflict. It happens when your mind says one thing, your heart says another, and your actions do something else entirely. When you're out of alignment like that, your nervous system simply cannot relax. And this brilliantly illustrates how these three principles act as a biological cure. Check this out. Emotional conflict is cured by love, resulting in better sleep. Social conflict is cured by unity, which lowers blood pressure. And internal conflict is cured by honesty, which actually boosts your immunity. This framework isn't just magic, and it isn't just some abstract philosophy. It is literal biology. When you align your character, your body physically heals itself. This actually brings us to a famous parable about an old traveler who found 3 builders cutting stones. He walked up and asked them what they were doing. The first builder grumbled and said, "I'm breaking rocks." The second one said, "I'm earning money." But the third builder, he smiled and said, "I'm building a cathedral." It was the exact same work, but with a completely different meaning. When love, unity, and honesty give you purpose, belonging, and direction, you aren't just breaking rocks anymore, you are building the cathedral of a meaningful life. Section 4, protecting your attention, a spiritual practice. Now, you might be wondering, if this is all so beneficial, why on earth do we ignore it? Well, it all comes down to protecting your attention. You see, our brains evolved over millions of years to constantly detect danger. Focusing on negativity is literally what kept our ancient ancestors alive in the wild. But in the modern world, that survival mechanism has been totally hijacked. Here is the modern trap we fall into every single day. The algorithms on our devices are specifically designed to reward outrage. Anger gets attention, fear gets clicks, and division drives engagement. If you just sit there and consume conflict all day long, eventually conflict becomes your personality. Because our ancient brains are so easily exploited by these systems, protecting your attention is no longer just some trendy productivity hack, it is an absolute necessity, and honestly, a modern spiritual practice. Think of your mind like a glass of muddy water. If you want to clean that water, you can't do it by punching the glass or aggressively stirring it up. No way. You simply have to let it sit still so the mud can settle to the bottom. Well, your mind works exactly the same way. Silence isn't laziness, it's maintenance. Whether you use meditation, deep breathing, prayer, reading, or just taking a quiet walk in nature, you have to give your mind the time to let the mud settle. When you do, clarity just naturally appears. Section 5, a daily practice, building character. So how do we move from just knowing these concepts to actually doing them? Well, we can do this by adopting a highly practical 3-question framework every single morning. Here are the 3 questions to ask yourself. Question 1, how will I express love today? Maybe it's just listening to someone without interrupting them, or finally forgiving someone who slighted you. Question 2, how will I strengthen unity today? You could choose to avoid an unnecessary argument or actively collaborate with a coworker instead of competing with them. And question 3, where must I be more honest today? Maybe it's finally admitting a mistake to build lasting trust, or honestly, just having the courage to say, I don't know. These are actionable, concrete steps you can take every single day. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it bridges 2 worlds that we so often think of as totally separate. Over on the left, we have psychology teaching gratitude, neuroscience showing how compassion reshapes our neural pathways, and medicine confirming the physical damage of stress. And then on the right, we have philosophy, religion, and ancient wisdom teaching values. These are not enemies. They are simply different languages describing the exact same reality. Take a second to just imagine a world that actually applies these 3 principles at scale. Imagine schools that prioritize teaching empathy before they ever teach competition. Imagine companies that reward integrity just as highly as they reward profits.
Imagine politicians competing to be the most honest rather than the most ruthless. And imagine social media algorithms designed to spread compassion way faster than outrage. A shift like this doesn't just happen magically overnight, it happens one individual person at a time.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Notice how this creates a cascading effect outward into the world. Committing to your own personal character and leaving those rigid ideological labels behind creates a ripple. A better human creates a better family. A better family creates a better society. And a better society naturally creates a better world. Every massive global transformation begins with the simple, quiet decisions you make in your own life. Ultimately, humanity doesn't lack knowledge. We lack application. You could memorize every single ancient text on planet Earth, but the truth is, people rarely remember what you believed, they remember how you made them feel. When you focus on being a better human being, peace and joy stop being these distant goals you have to constantly chase, and instead, they become your natural state of being. Which brings us to our final provocative question for you to consider today. What is the scripture written by your actions every single day? Remember, your life is the most important text you will ever write. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If this changed your perspective or helped you out, please take a quick second to like, share, and comment down below with your thoughts. I'd love to read them. And be sure to download our free ebooks from the description to continue your own journey of personal growth. Until next time, stay curious and keep growing.